So, as you've just read, Korean authorities are considering a potential change update to one of the rules surrounding driving. It's about novice drivers, and should they, by law, have a standardized sign that they should keep on their car when they are learning to drive or when they have newly passed their test, as a sort of signal to drivers around them that that is their status. Japan, it mentions, already has this system, and there are various different types of stickers depending on where you are in the learner process. It does seem perhaps a little unnecessarily complicated. But anyway, that's their system. In the UK, we have a simplified system, but the US apparently does not really have any kind of labeling system for learner drivers. So the jury's out. I guess different nations have made different decisions, and Korea now considers, do they need the L sticker for learner drivers? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think you should have had one when you were learning to drive?
I don't think it's really that necessary to label beginner drivers. I think what's better than labeling beginner drivers is equipping beginner drivers to drive well. I think a lot of the processes of learning how to drive, especially when it comes to driving schools, seems to be really low, like really poor. I don't know what it is, but from what I've heard from many of the Koreans I've talked to, learning how to drive was under a strictly controlled environment and in a school. And that's nothing like the real world, nothing. What you should be doing is driving in the city with a guide. And yeah, you can learn some basics of like how to start the car, but you really should be out in the streets. Now, you could do this at times that are not the, what's it called, the rush hour times. That probably is not a good idea, but otherwise, you need to be out there. And this isn't kind of like being thrown into the deep end. This is just learning how to swim. You don't learn how to swim by reading a book or by looking at water. Or by sitting in a tiny pool. You have to be in a pool where you can swim. And that's the roads. And so, yeah, no, teach people correctly and you don't need the stickers, but that's the American coming out in me.
Well, yeah, I suppose I have met, and when I was teaching this article included, a number of students who said they had had lessons, they had passed their test, but they still felt scared to drive. So being out there on the real roads in the real world is also about overcoming that fear and getting accustomed to the real situation. So in the UK, I think a lot of people would be nervous to learn with their parents, not because they're not good drivers, not because they're not even good driving teachers, but because of the tension that might cause between family members. I love my parents, but I definitely would not let them teach me to drive. When they go to the driving schools, most of the schools, so this is in the learning process, before they pass the test, in the learning schools, they have to drive the car that is provided by the learning school, and these are special cars, so it's not even a sticker on the car, it's a special car it has dual control.
Yes. And the brakes on the way.
Yeah. So they can take them out and not risk them just accidentally stepping on the gas and hurting somebody. So there's that added safety aspect perhaps as well.
And I bet that's the same in the US for driving schools. But how I was taught was like the old-fashioned way. Get out on the road and everything. Were you scared to drive, or are you scared to drive? I know you said that you're scared to drive, which is one reason why you don't.
Yeah.
I guess I had a fear of driving, but also this sort of excitement behind it too. I mean, it symbolized maturity, freedom, and forward progress. And those are things that I really highly valued, still do. And so when I was learning to drive, I think my desire to drive outweighed the fear that could go along with it. And there's a part of my personality that does things without thinking. And although that can be dangerous sometimes, that was a benefit for driving. And I love driving. I really do. I would love to be driving more and more often. Every time I go on vacation, I'll rent a car instead of taking a bus or a train. And people are like, why would you drive 5 hours to Busan? I was like, because I like driving. Even when it's not in traffic or whatever, it's still, I don't know. There's something about being behind the wheel. Yeah. What is it? I don't know.
People like different things, yeah. The speed, the control, the sense of power. You know, you've got a large machine in your hands.
And the challenge, because it's scary. It's scary to drive. Everyone around you is in a machine that could potentially kill you. And you are too. And I think the challenge is, because it was so fun to drive on snow and ice. Really? I love driving there because I was like, I don't know when I'm going to slide out and how am I going to control it. And for some reason, it thrilled me.
Oh, goodness me. I feel scared just listening to you talking, John.
Ooh, we better stop this then.
Okay. So let me go and calm down while you guys check out the vocabulary we met in this article and practice it some more. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Standardized.
Standardized.
Cut off.
Cut off.
Consensus.
Consensus.
Aggression.
Aggression.
Metaphorical.
Metaphorical.